Iraq war up close now say it's time to bring those troops home.
I have always said that I will listen to the requests of our commanders on the ground.
Mr. President, you did not listen. You continue to pursue a failed strategy that is breaking our great Army and Marine Corps. I left the Army in protest in order to speak out. Mr. President, you have placed our nation in peril.
This is all part of a new TV ad that begins airing in selected markets today, and it's financed by VoteVets.org. Jon Soltz is co-founder and chairman of that organization. He also served in the Iraq War. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, ma'am.
At the end of the ad, you actually target and call out specific lawmakers to make changes. Why did you decide on that tactic? Do you think it's going to be effective?
Absolutely, it's going to be effective. Basically, what we want to do is sway these congressmen that we often lobby. We go into their offices. Most of them are moderate Republicans, and we say to them, are you with the president? And for a failed strategy in Iraq and a failed strategy in the war on terror, a strategy that hasn't allowed us to attack and kill the people who attacked this country on 9/11, or are you with the president and a stay-the-course policy that only 25% of this country supports? And you know, they say to us, well, we're with you, John. We're with VoteVets.org. But then they go and on the key votes in Congress, they vote, you know, against the supplemental and with the president, which gave an extra $25 million to fix up the president's mess at Walter Reed, and extra money for post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. And what we're trying to do now is that the president's vetoed this bill. He's vetoed the money for the troops in the field. He's undermined the morale of the troops on the ground. And we're trying to sway these members of Congress when we get into this debate here in the next several weeks to stand against the president.
We showed it in just a spot there that at least one of them you target specifically Republican, Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins. Have you had any response from these specific lawmakers who will be the target of these ads?
Well, you know, we've spoken to some of them and we've seen what they said in the press, and they are going to do exactly what we think they're going to do, which is say, no, 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 no. We're not with the president because the president's a political anchor. But basically there's about, you know, 30 or so Republicans out there that are, you know, very vulnerable from that sense, but also, you know, in their districts, some of them are in safe districts, but they want to portray a certain image back home that they're not tied to this president who's, you know, an anti-military president. And when you stick not just troops but retired generals, I mean, this is just the first ad.
You mentioned the retired generals, and we heard from them in your ad, but we should point out here, we're hearing from General Petraeus, the commander in Iraq, who says that he is seeing improvements. He's saying U.S. troops are making progress. Let this process work. It's not complete yet. Are the retired major generals you have in your advertisement, Batiste and Eaton, trying to substitute their judgment for his? The president says he's listening to generals on the ground, and Petraeus is there on the ground.
Well, when obviously the ad that we ran, the president says, I listened to the commanders on the ground, and General Batiste was the commander of the 1st Infantry Division when the president made that statement. We also have General Clark involved in this project, who's very active and on our board of VoteVets.org. But the fact of the matter is he doesn't listen to the commanders on the ground. I mean, General Petraeus can cook the books all he wants here, but the stock value of what's going on in Iraq, you know, as proposed by our government, is the actual value of those shares is a lot lower than what they're portraying. We can put more combat troops in Baghdad, and we can temporarily lower violence, but because it's going to destabilize the rest of the region and what we call in the military the amoeba effect. And that's what we're going to see happen in Iraq. I mean, 90% of our army is there. We've extended our units from 12 months to 15. Our army can't sustain this fight. That's why the #2 leader of al-Qaeda this week, Mr. Zawahiri, said he wants us in Iraq so they can strategically fix our assets. We have a war to fight in this country, and this president has hindered our ability to do that and broken our Army and Marine Corps. And that's what these commercials are about, is convincing these key lawmakers that they need to stand against the president, that the president's isolated on this issue, that the president's an anti-military president, an anti-victory on the war on terror president, because he has this obsession with this Shia-Sunni conflict in Iraq, and he's a failed commander-in-chief.
All right. Jon Soltz.
Thank you, ma'am.
You got a lot in there. Thanks for